Dude, the pre-pod banter level today, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10?
We need to cut in and just all be laughing like...
Evil laugh or friendly laugh?
That was evil. That was evil.
Gotta recalibrate my laughter.
Banter level is high. I'm excited for this episode.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Alfalfa podcast. We are Eric Johansson, Armand Asadi. That's Steven Cesaro. I'm Nick Urbani. And shout out to everyone in the chat. What's up? Thank you for joining us as always. I see it heating up in there. What's up to y'all? And got a special shout out today. We got a member of the community made a kind of a monster donation here. Elevate Bliss made a $469.69 donation.
That's wild.
New all-time highs.
That's wild.
And he also included a message. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but he said, happy belated New Year. Thanks to Stephen and Eric for irresponsibly pumping our bags.
You're welcome.
P.S. Can the Shah of Iran and the algorithm please share more about your companies?
Oh, wow.
I don't know who's thinking of Shah of Iran. We don't have one of those.
Whale alert. Whale alert.
He gets what he wants, man. You donate that much.
That's great.
Yeah, if he tells you to take your pants off, you're going to do it.
There is a level where that will happen. Yeah. Should we have like
Tom Nom for $10,000.
Yikes, bro.
Hey, everybody has
that's
a price.
Oh, dude. Elevate, you're the man. We appreciate you, dude.
Steven, do you have a NFT call to action?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So shout out to our number one collector last week. First of all, Dan Simmons.
Oh,
thank you, Dan.
Salute to you.
The loyalist of the Alfalfa
That's
NFT
good,
purchasers. I have not gotten this episode's
Get this man
NFT
a
live
mug.
yet because I am incompetent. But it will be live tomorrow, and you will be able to.
By the time people are listening. It'll be live.
Yeah. For the vast majority of you who don't join us here live, why?
That's a good question.
Yes, why? This will be. It will be live by the time this episode goes live on
Time
Spotify and
zone
Apple.
excuses are not really excuses.
Alfalfa. Wait, no. Pods.media.
I did add it to the website.
Alfalfa. Oh, it's on our website now.
Alfalfapod.com.
Okay, alfalfapod.com. You can find the NFT link there.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, so subscribe on all platforms, alfalfapod.com. Armand, can you help me out? Can you help me introduce what we're drinking today?
Sure, brother. I mean, this is your treat. So
Yeah.
you brought some various assorted pre-made cocktails.
Yeah, pre-made cocktails. It's kind of a dangerous, I feel like it's a risky
I'm
adventure.
loving them. So this one's by Knob Creek. It's an old-fashioned on the rocks cocktail, ready to go.
And Knob Creek's a pretty good whiskey, right?
Yeah, it's great.
It's kind of like high octane.
You've
right?
got a Bullet Manhattan
I just realized
cocktail,
I'm drinking a Manhattan.
and then I don't know what that
Out of
one
a coffee
is.
cup.
Yeah.
What's that one?
That one's another old fashioned. I don't know the brand. We took that
I
down.
have to say, like, making an old fashioned for me takes like 2 minutes, and being able to just pour that right out and get this level of quality.
First of all, 2 minutes. I thought you were going to go longer. 2
It's
minutes.
a long time to make one drink.
Oh, because you have to do one by one.
To make a drink.
Yeah,
Yeah, to make a drink. Is, how long did you expect it to
I thought you were
take?
going to
You
say
know you
5.
can make like 4 of them also in 2 minutes, right?
I actually
You just-
don't believe you can bulk batch make old fashions.
Wait, why not? That defies the laws of
These don't
physics.
scale?
Don't scale. I've talked to multiple hardcore mixologists about this. As
There's
soon
just-
as you double up, it's over.
This man knows
It's
scale.
There's no way that's true.
It's over. Something
It just
don't
looks
scale,
bad
brother.
for the customer if you just dump everything in a
Some
bucket
things
and
don't
stir
scale.
it.
That's,
you know.
yeah, maybe
Well,
that's part of it.
I think. How do you pronounce these? Maraschino?
Luxardo brand.
Luxardo brand.
Luxardo cherries.
My mom always told me those would give me cancer.
Why?
Oh,
Yeah.
those give you
Do they?
heavenly good feelings.
I never fact checked her on it, but probably not, given her track record.
No, for the record,
Mama
those are
Cesaro,
the
I
best.
apologize for your
she,
son.
She actually told me yesterday she occasionally listens to the show.
No
and I was
kidding.
like, why?
My mom actually asked, do you guys have sponsors? Do you want me to sponsor your show? I was like,
Yes.
Yes.
Mom,
Wait,
we got sponsors.
Yes. Sponsored by.
You're telling us
Can we
this
get
now?
in like an F-16 or like a carrier group to
Sponsored
sponsor
by
us?
BAE Systems.
BAE Systems. That'd be sick.
That'd be sick.
Sponsored by the new class destroyer.
No, Mom.
Deaf to Houthis.
We got
Anyway.
sponsors.
I mean, yeah, but keep it in the fam.
Well, speaking of our sponsors, go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Check out ZBiotics. You take it before you drink. Helps you feel like shit in the morning. And so I took it to this conference that Jimmy and I were at last week in Las Vegas. It's, as you would think, a conference in Vegas. And usually for these
That must
trips,
have been so clutch.
we used to give out these IV sessions as
Yeah.
gifts to like our vendors and companies we work with to help take care of that not so great feeling in the morning. And they're like $300 a pop. And
they
there's
come to your hotel room. and
they'll either
everything,
come
yeah.
to the room in the Cosmo, or there's a place inside the Cosmo you just kind of walk down to and they hook you up. But the ZBiotics was a much cheaper gift, and it was a bigger hit. So gave it around to a few. Let them do
It's
it before they
instant
go.
gratification.
Yeah, and they woke up and they're like, weird. Like, I'm tired as fuck, but I don't feel like
Wow,
shit.
Yeah, I'm not.
good.
Yeah.
That's good marketing.
Yeah.
Like if I had a landing page right now, I'd compare the cost of the IV versus the 12-pack of ZBiotics.
Totally. And the IV is not a cure-all. I mean, it does help with some.
Well,
of the
how hard
symptoms.
did you
Either
guys?
is,
How
but-
hard did you guys go in Vegas? By the way, I
I
haven't
actually
gotten the
this
full
was
breakdown.
my least hard Vegas. I was in bed before 1
Man's
a.m.
almost
each
40.
night.
Yeah.
How much craps?
Lot of craps. Okay, so
What's the P&L?
Jimmy can confirm this. We went not hard on the clubs and the drinking. We
Sorry,
went,
Jimmy. Yeah, you missed your window.
We went extra hard on the gambling.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I
think
saw
we-
it. It was wild.
We spent what we used to spend in a club at dinner, and then we went extra hard on the gambling.
So the gambling, are those casinos still in business, or do you guys take them
Yeah,
down?
they have this thing called like a mathematical edge. It's fucked. You can't win.
That's just because you bet on the pass instead of the do not pass.
Yeah.
First of all, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. it was-
And second of
no,
all,
flawed logic.
you're psychotic if you don't, like you're a non-humanist if you
monster
bet on the don't
would bet
pass.
on the
Like, why wouldn't
don't
you
pass?
want the group to succeed if it makes no difference in how much money you can make?
Collect your checks.
It's not enough that others should fail.
Eric,
I
why
must
do you do
always-
this?
I must
Collect the
also win.
checks, baby. I don't know how they stay in business when I'm around.
I don't know how you haven't got beaten up at a casino before.
Almost have.
Somebody make that
a
remake
football
that
player
meme
almost
with Eric's
Yeah.
face in it.
Who was it?
Former football player Joey Porter almost took me
Porter.
down one time.
So he's rolling the dice. You're on the don't pass.
yeah,
which
he had like 20 grand spread across the table. It's only him rolling and only me betting,
No.
and it was like all his entourage
No.
standing around,
you're a sick fuck.
You are.
and I'm betting the table minimum.
That's bad.
on the don't. Yeah, he almost got me.
So once the 7 came, the number that shall not be named, I guess.
Yeah, then
before his number.
his 20 G's get wiped, and they put one.
Was it like a stern
one
look?
green chip next to mine?
Did he flex on you or what?
No, he called me soy sauce.
I think
Oh, I
we talked about
forgot
this.
this.
Yeah,
I
about
forgot
that.
this.
that's where that name was
I heard
originated.
that before, and I forgot, and it's just as funny
Yeah,
now.
he got really aggressive on me, and he said one thing I'll never forget. He's like,
Soy sauce.
he said, "Soy sauce, don't smile, soy sauce, with your top down, windows up haircut." And I was like, "What does that mean?"
It was like a compliment while also hitting you in the stomach.
I still don't know
Oh
what it means.
my god. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a great story.
anyway,
it's a good
so-
username, by the way. Soy sauce.
So to
or
wrap
top
up
down,
this-
windows
I think
up.
it's better than Crypto CFA, personally.
Is this still the ad read?
Yeah, sorry. So to wrap up this ad read, Z-Biotics saved the day again. Was tired, but didn't feel like shit. Was also a good boy. Went to bed early, and yeah, it also did well with the business partners. They loved it. So yeah, check it out for yourself. Use code alfalfa at checkout. zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Done and done.
Done and done.
So what's going on this week, boys?
What's up, soy sauce?
We were just talking about before we started how we have a group chat together, and it's probably one of the most dysfunctional group chats, considering how close we are as friends. Armand and I have all of the notifications off. Eric has specifically silenced our group chat.
Yeah, that's mean.
And Steven, what's your stance on our group chat?
I actually have our group chat
Pinned?
not silenced and pinned.
Oh, wow.
Does your phone vibrate like when you get a text?
I fixed it so it actually does vibrate now. It used to just
okay.
be silent.
Yeah, mine's silent.
So, yeah, I think you
Mine's
told me
silent.
about this once, and I was like,
It
that
helps
sounds like
me.
a great
It
idea.
helps
And then
me.
I missed so many text messages that got me in so much
yeah,
trouble.
you need it because
And then I
well,
was
no,
like, this
because
is a terrible idea.
You don't actually read all your texts. You're that guy that has unread text messages.
Oh, yeah, I have like
If you're like
700
me, where
unread
you
messages.
actually will read the text, then having vibration off really helps. Because then it's not going off all day long.
Yeah, you can't
For
do
you,
that.
you need the reminder that like it's I am being
my
contacted.
brain, like, do you think about like my phone is in silent or my phone is in ringing mode? That is not a thing my brain ever thinks
No.
about. I have no idea if my phone is on vibrate right now. No idea.
Okay, I have a
No, I'm just always silent.
I have a separate problem, and I want to run this by you guys. I think you guys are gonna hate it, but I take many of text messages that I receive as like rhetorical. What I mean by that is like,
Oh, I'm gonna.
We
hate
know.
this.
like when somebody
gonna hate
says
this.
like, if somebody says like "Good morning" to me, I read it. I'm like, thanks. Like in my mind,
Is that like an
Wait, how did
only
you get
child
married?
syndrome thing, or like?
yeah, that might be
Yeah.
the most only child moment you've had.
And,
And
like,
you're
when-
not that guy, but that's that
but when
moment right
and
there.
like when you guys send like a funny video, I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, yeah, I'll probably look at that at some point later. Or like it's just like I take everything as rhetorical. Like,
I get.
That's different.
That's different.
That's different. You don't have an obligation to respond
No.
to the video, the gerbil juggling.
But
Okay,
you
but
do
I
if
take 'em
somebody
all-
says,
but I
"What
take
do
'em
you
all as the
think-"
same.
If I sent you a video and I said, "What do you think of this?"
Then I hate you because you've like
you force
obligated
it.
me
Yeah.
with like a response.
That's different.
Well, if we didn't have this weekly venue to hang out, and would you just never respond to
I
us?
don't
Like,
know. I don't know what I would do.
So to me, that's also what this has become. Is like things, as to your point, we have this group chat. It's kind of dysfunctional. Things get thrown in there that we clearly want to discuss, but we're terrible asynchronous communicators. So this is our synchronous communication bonding time, where we actually finally get to discuss these
Bro,
matters.
so the other night,
wonderful.
The other night, I forgot to have for some reason I took my phone off Do Not Disturb, and I sleep with Bloomberg in one AirPod in my ear.
Yeah.
It puts me right to bed.
So much brain cancer.
Yeah, brain cancer, but also diffusing Bitcoin ETF prices into
But
my
also
brain.
7 hours of sleep. Like,
Yeah,
worth
perfectly
it.
fine. But I didn't do it. So I'm dead asleep. I don't know what fucking time you were text messaging, but Siri goes, text message. It's just blaring in my head. Text message from Armand Asadi. Have you guys seen this shit? And then like, link. And I was like, God damn it, Armand, because you go to bed later than most of us. Yeah,
x.com/xq.
yeah, exactly.
what was it?
I don't know. I literally went and just like went to full airplane mode
Oh, God.
and tried to go back to sleep.
That is
Yeah, I remember
ruthless.
that night. It was a late night.
Yeah, you're always up late.
No, not anymore. I'm a father. Now.
All
I'm
right.
a father.
I'm a father.
It's like I've gone to bed at 9, 10 even some days.
Wait, should we talk about the trains?
I'm not ready to
Nick
talk
doesn't
about
want
the
to talk
trains.
about the trains.
I want to talk
we
about
were
it.
talking about the
I'd
trains
love
in the
to talk about it.
pre-pod.
No, we're going to talk
conversation.
about it. We're going to talk about it.
Do you want to tee up the trains, or do you want me to tee up the trains?
I'll tee it up somewhat.
Tee it up.
So
Who's hitting the actual ball? You tee it up. You hit it.
All right.
I don't know who's hitting the ball. I just want to talk
Tee it
about it. I
up,
think
Steven.
the train thing is hilarious.
Do you know why? What the source of the problem of the train?
So my understanding is that at some point in the recent past, some poor soul with like headphones on just walked in front of a train in downtown San
Four
Diego.
people died in the
Four
same week.
people?
4 people.
In the same week? Holy
Yes.
God.
What?
So
Ooh, that's kinda
if
sad,
you're-
actually.
Most people aren't familiar with San Diego, but the 5 freeway runs north to south. Kind of along the whole coastal city.
Yeah.
And along there's a train. There's freight trains. There's the trolley. There's normal like coaster trains. And because of this issue, the federal government stepped in and told the city, "You're not in compliant. So this quiet zone that you've had for years is lifted." And what I think happened is someone in the city was bickering with someone in the federal government, and some guy in the federal government was like, "You know what really chap his ass? Lift the fucking quiet zone and then see what they say."
Oh.
And so for the last maybe 7 to 10 days, I don't really know when it started, they have been blaring horns at every single intersection. And imagine coastal town all the way down to San Diego. There's like 100 intersections, and they're federally required to hit the horn for at least 15 seconds.
And this is
at all hours of
all
the
night.
All hours.
Literally the middle of downtown.
Because like
in
cargo
nice
trains,
neighborhoods,
cargo
there's
trains
just-
can go through all night long.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
passenger trains aren't going at 1
No, I
a.m.,
know
but-
all the times they come through because when I first moved here, this wasn't a thing, like the silent train. And I didn't know it. I just rented oh, look at this cheap apartment. It's so nice downtown. First night I was in there, 3 a.m, I just hear like, "Burn!" I'm like, jump out of bed. I'm like, oh my God,
The British are
what's
coming.
happening? I was at a heart attack. And then like I look out the window, there's just this gigantic, like the Burlington Northern or whatever, just coming up and it's just
That's a coat factory, sir. But yeah, sure.
That's a code factory.
I think that's the actual name of the train.
Santa Fe. Yeah, BNSF. I think you're right.
So okay. So all hours of the night. For example, last night, 1 a.m. and
Is
4
this
a.m.
the one like running through Little Italy?
Yes, right next to all
The
the,
one
buildings.
right that
And
goes
imagine
through-
you're paying for a nice place and a nice luxury condo building, got a beautiful
so
view of
was
the water.
the train running before, but they weren't blaring the
Nonstop.
horn?
They run nonstop, but you don't even notice them because there's like good soundproof windows and
Yeah.
doors. You don't
But
notice.
now they're required to blare.
Now
their-
the decibel level is like 130, which is near a jet engine level inside of the
my
home
goodness.
with the windows.
So loud. So my brother lives in Nick's building, and he has a unit. It's literally on the tracks. Like the train is like 7 feet that way.
Yes. No exaggeration.
For the last 2 weeks,
Really?
like he's losing his mind. Like, did you see him?
no.
No, I
He
saw him
looks like He
today.
hasn't slept in like. He texted me this morning. He's like, "Hey, is your apartment rented?" And I was like, "Yes, there's a tenant staying there." And then his next question is, "Can we sleep there?" And I'm like, "No." See prior text. And he's like, "Sorry, I just haven't been sleeping." But no, he's like him and his poor wife. They're having like a heart attack because like they're just.
He sent me a text message. At 5:50 in the morning.
No way.
I got zero sleep. I'm gonna die.
He showed me a video from his phone of just like a complete pitch black room.
I want to
It
see
was
this.
just sound. It was just like
So loud. I wish people could hear how loud. It literally just feels like
We're gonna
you're in
have,
bed and a train is just driving through your bedroom honking. It's right there.
We're
It's
gonna have,
absolutely insane.
We're gonna have video
The talk
audio
around
soon
town,
in the
like if
stream.
you see anyone walking around in San Diego downtown, Little Italy
my
is
God.
like, did you sleep last night? You don't even ask for their name, how their day's going. It could be a complete stranger, and you're like,
So this is affecting all of like downtown and Little Italy.
and even in our
Yeah, the
office
whole
here,
thing is built
You can
on
hear
a
it now.
train track.
Can you,
Yeah, I can hear that.
we can hear the train
That's
now.
super loud.
Yeah.
Super loud.
We're far from the track.
Right. So anyway,
Wow. Yeah, right.
I'm not ready yet, but I'm.
Oh my god! I
right
wonder
here,
if the
right
microphone
now.
is picking
on
that
right
up.
now, Jesus
I wonder if
Christ.
How
People get- I
funny
wonder if
that
people
that's picking it up.
I wonder if
right
people
now.
can hear that. Wonder how well I
see.
configured the noise
I hope it
gate.
comes
you can
through
hear
on the
it, too?
audio.
You can hear it?
Yeah,
Here's
that's great. That's perfect.
Here's the worst of it. You hear it from like half a mile away, and if you wake up in the middle of the night, all you know is that for the next 30 seconds, it's going to get fucking louder.
You know, this could be good for cost of living.
I hope so.
Spoken like a guy who's been looking for
for a
place.
home. Yeah. So I'm
America's most expensive and finest.
trying to
city now.
find a creative way to align the mayor's incentives with the removal of my pain.
Wow.
And I have some ideas. Also, I found out that our House of Representatives, he's got a primary in March. He's up for re-election. So I don't know. There's a guy in the federal, a guy in the city. I don't know which one to do. You grease or stick?
So you're plotting. You're
Wait.
already plotting.
Why
Yeah,
don't we
of course,
Have,
like,
why don't we
this
have
is-
him on the pod?
Oh,
Give him a
yeah,
little
sure.
platform.
Hey, we're gonna come in here and just light your ass up on like this like minor thing to your constituents.
Any other policies?
Also,
no,
there's
no
a
thanks.
4-drink minimum.
I mean, I think this has become a one-issue vote at this point for San Diego.
I don't know. Like, if I'm the mayor, why don't you just sue the federal government and get an injunction to like at least get it to stop? But I also was thinking, it'd be really nice to have a smart contract with like about 10,000 stable coins in there. And like anytime someone submits a video of blowing an air horn in front of the mayor's house, post it to Twitter with specific hashtag. Once it gets 5 likes, $100 immediately into your wallet address.
That's vindictive,
Dude,
sir.
the level of how deeply he's been thinking
Yeah.
about
Also, there's
solving
a lot of
this
homeless
tells
people
me how painful
in
this
San
problem is.
Diego, and like I'd be like, hey, listen, I'll be watching you, but here's an air horn. Here's the mayor's office. Here's $100. If you do a good job, every time a train comes by, you walk outside the office,
That's
you
a great
blare
Proof of
it,
horn.
and then I'll be
of
back
honk.
next week with another $100.
I think that's a good idea.
Anyway,
Proof of honk.
so
I like it.
yeah, if anyone has any suggestions, there's also just being like, hey, do you need a fundraiser?
Write a letter, Nick.
We'll have dinner, we'll
Write a
raise
letter to
money,
your
and then
Is
we'll
that what we
solve
do
our
now?
problem.
Do we
That's what
write
you're-
letter?
that's what
I
people
thought you
always
just
say.
angrily tweet shit.
You know when people always say that? Like
Yeah,
whenever
just
there's
write,
some,
like, do
Write
better.
to your
some
congressman.
activist
Like,
on
tag
social
them.
media, write a letter. It's like,
Nah,
you
just
know that
tweet.
goes in the trash.
Yeah,
That goes in the trash.
goes to the intern.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know
feel
why
better?
I was laughing so hard at your brother's like sleep plight, but
Yeah,
it's
that was
hilarious
amazing.
when he
I
equates
feel
it to
bad.
dying.
I don't know why that made me
I
laugh
don't
so
think he
much.
listens though, so we can laugh.
I think he's laughing deep down inside too, but only when the problem is gone. will
You want to
he
hear
laugh.
something corny? I this morning I put a stop to we can't talk how negative the train noise is in my house. It's now called the gratitude train. And
Oh, okay, Tony.
Whoa.
yeah,
That's some Uncle Tony.
You've gone through like the 7 stages of grief here. Acceptance.
so
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
imagine like you're just sitting there and you go down this death spiral every 2 hours of like how fucked up this is, and it's just like
Oh, yeah.
you feed on each other, and then all of a sudden just everyone's pissed off. The dog's pissed. He doesn't even know why.
That's some Jedi shit right there, brother.
So anyway, we'll see if it works.
I mean, you have no choice. That's Jedi stuff.
Actually, at one of Tony's things, one of his things, like, what's the most annoying thing we can think of? He's like, a train horn.
That's why I said that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
He does it, and then you go full peak state.
Yeah. I think it was because there was a train going by one of his seminars one time,
Yeah.
and everyone was getting upset, and it was affecting the state of mind of all the people inside. And he like got people to be like, all right, every time the train comes by, celebrate.
All right.
Very Tony.
Well, we had a bunch of shit in the group chat. Elevate Bliss wanted to talk a little bit about business. He said our businesses, but I think we can have a good chat about business. Can you cue up the Nick Huber tweets?
Oh, yeah.
Could be a good little fiery place to.
This is the guy you
Nice segue, sir.
you
Yeah.
invest with, right?
Okay, so
Great segue, by the way. So good.
Yeah, so he his
Effortless.
Twitter handle is
$5 into the
at
segue jar.
sweaty startup, and his core business is he is a general partner for self storage. So I've done 2 of his deals, and he sent me one of those Stanley Cups as like an annual gift for being an
foreshadowing.
investor. Yeah, maybe foreshadowing
Wow.
another topic. Do I get another tip jar for that?
Oh
Yeah,
my
that was-
god.
God damn, bro.
This man a
so-
raise.
So there's 5 tweets. They all kind of like fall in the same kind of angle, and I think you guys will get the gist. But I'm going to read most of this. So stop trying to change the world. Your brand new business isn't going to work. It hasn't worked yet for a reason. Go do something normal and boring that no one is passionate about. Look at the world unemotionally and find an opportunity to do common things uncommonly well. Go start a business and build skills. Skipping ahead. Get better and get rich slowly over time. Go after cash flow versus venture capital money and valuations. The entrepreneurship culture is brainwashing you. Most rich people did common things uncommonly well. They didn't raise money. They didn't found an app or a new tool. Let's go to another one. Pick a random one, Jimmy. All right, another one. What people don't understand about entrepreneurship: the majority of wealthy people in our world didn't have a new groundbreaking idea. They did totally normal things: built houses, bought buildings, cleaned something, maintained something, repaired something, and most importantly, they had competitors who also made money. If you got the last one there, maybe not the video, not this one. Let's go to the next one. Okay, here we go. Let's end with this one. If you aren't rich yet, every single business you start in 2024 needs to be cash flow positive within 3 to 6 months. If it isn't, go get a job working for someone who already knows how to make money, or a rich person with a big idea. This sounds silly, but it's why most people fail. Poor early decisions. Focus on cash flow first and chasing your passion later. So obviously one kind of theme is like, just copy paste what works already. It doesn't matter if it's power washing or a pest control business or a website that someone's already started before that's proven to make money. Anyway, we have different types of businesses in this little cohort here. So I wanted to chat about it because I kind of firmly believe his stance. Like, I think especially if you're a starting entrepreneur, if for your first business, there's no way you should go out and try to build Twitter or TikTok for the first time. You should develop something that builds cash flow. And in particular, pay attention to the cash flow conversion cycle. Like, when you put in $1 of investment, when does that cash come back? And how will you know you fail? And how will you know you succeed?
Well, can I ask you about that? Because have you always been this way? Because it seemed like you have started many businesses over a long period of time. You've started many. And I think I've seen your evolution. Like, you weren't always so cash flow focused, and even in this current iteration of your business, I feel like you can operate it more leanly, and just be sort of like cash flow oriented versus like long-term enterprise value oriented. And
yeah, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with building enterprise value. That good cash flow, predictive cash flow, does build enterprise value. But my first business I started, I got hired as CEO to run a business, and we grew it really far, but I was just a CEO, and they made hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Let's call it probably tens of millions in distributions over that time. And me and a business partner eventually left and started the same exact business. And we went to them and said, hey, listen, we're going to start this business. 1, you could sue us if you want, or 2, we can work together and kind of like pick this industry apart and play on each other and share ideas. And luckily, they chose the latter, and we did kind of like kept sending olive branches like, hey, I know this part of your code doesn't work. Here's a fix. Here's this idea. Here's this new partner. And eventually they kind of came around to it, but it was a proven business model. It could scale. I knew the cash flow conversion. I knew the break even on buying a new user was 47 days. Like, we knew it exactly. We knew the partners who we needed to get for user acquisition. We knew the partners we needed to get for revenue optimization. And it's been that whole way this whole time. I mentioned we went to this conference. Like, one thing we did as a team was on Monday, we said, okay, let's share notes. And so we spent an hour going over the notes that are relevant to our business, but we're like, did anyone hear an idea that's already making money? Okay, how much money is it making? Like, how does it work? Do we think they're telling the truth? And we just filed in the idea backlog, because what other like high probability way to create cash flow in your business, in your personal life than to copy pasta? Like, even at that big company I was at, we had this phrase, R&D, rip and duplicate.
Yeah, completely different from the R&D that we're used to.
Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Like, do you think that's scummy? Is that smart? Is that like a good thing for starting entrepreneurs?
I want to hear Amran's take on this, because you guys have taken very different approaches, I feel like.
Yeah, let's like parse out the guys.
No, but yeah.
The argument.
Well, in the current iteration of your lives.
Yeah, for sure. So like, if I was to analyze the tweets and the position of the tweets, there's a little bit of like muddiness that I just want to clarify. I think what it really comes down to has nothing to do with like cash flow efficiency. Everybody should be cash flow efficient. Your unit economics should work from day one, whether you raise venture or bootstrap, or you're passionate or you're not passionate, or you're selling trinkets or you're selling, the new Twitter of the tomorrow. Like, Everybody should be thinking about cash flow efficiency and profitability, especially in 2024. So to me, that's just like an extra thing that he threw in to prove the argument. But the argument, actually, the crux of the argument came down to passion. His argument was whether or not you should be in the pursuit of something that you deeply are passionate about and that you identify with, where your work is like a means to find meaning, or whether it should just be a way for you to make money. And that's where I disagree. But there was a lot of shoulds in those statements, and shoulds are really good for Twitter. Shoulds are really good for marketing. Shoulds are really good for getting attention. I think it's a personality question. I think that's where you and I differ, and that's where him and I would differ. I find deep meaning in my work, and I could never put 15 hours a day into something that I didn't want to bring to life with all of my being. And I would never get through the struggles and the obstacles ever. I know this about myself. If it was not like a deeply aligned destiny sort of attitude for me. That's the only thing that will get me through the hard times. I can't do that if I'm trying to just like make money.
Okay,
money's not enough for me.
Okay, but what if I said, hey, there might be a consistent $1 million a year in it for you, and like that meaning on its own might not mean much to you, but think about what you could do for your family, for your friends, for yourself, for the rest of your life. If you could even do that for 5 years, 7 years, if you're lucky enough to do it for 10 years.
But you just threw out $1 million. You threw out $1 million a year as like a arbitrary number. Like I think a lot of these sort of sweaty startups aren't going to do $1 million a year. They'll be profitable by months 3 or 6 or whatever he described. But like $1 million a year. The bottom line.
I'm on Team Nick that you can do $1 million a year in sweaty jobs. I mean, not like the first
No,
one,
you
but
can.
like you can't do like 100 million.
But
you
for
can't
every
do 20.
for every sweaty startup he's talking about, which again we're talking about like a cleaning company, like power washing, pest control, those type of examples. There are online versions of that. There are business models that have existed for 10 years. I mean, I could tell you how to like go sniff them out, but like they've been around and they don't take
Another
much
thing
startup.
that I agree with is the likelihood for success, probability for success is higher with boring businesses. There's so much more opportunity with these boring, sweaty startups than there is with
Agreed.
like, building some new B2B tech platform. Like a SaaS startup, some B2B SaaS platform is much more difficult to pull off. At the same time, it's becoming easier because of AI and the level of innovation and the amount of labor and capital that's necessary to build things that are really transformational today is way faster, easier, and cheaper than ever before. So you could look at this in multiple ways. But
like
at the
that
end of the
argument.
day, well, it's definitely there. At the end of the day, I think it's just a question of like, okay, fine, let's go back to your point. $1 million a year. You got to work 12 to 15 hours a day. But then you have $1 million a year. You can be very giving with your family, your friends. And then, like he said at the end of one of his tweets, go find meaning after you do this. Go give back in other ways. I can't. That's not enough for me. If I'm going to be creative and a business person in pursuit of building something, I've got to build something that is meaningful to me and something that gives me joy along the journey. If I run, I know myself, and if I, like I said, running into obstacles is very common on the founder journey. And that is the differentiation between success and failure. It has nothing to do with how smart you are. Intelligence helps, but entrepreneurship is about will. And those with the greatest amount of will often succeed. I have often also said, there's no failure, there's only giving up. So like the majority of people in entrepreneurship fail, that 90% that fails because they give up.
Right.
But if you just persevere, you're going to find a way. You iterate, you move, you get resourceful enough, and you make it. So for me to accomplish that, I've always enjoyed being passionate about what I'm doing. So at the end of the day, it's a personality question for me. I think that some people are more drawn toward that type of work, and other people are drawn toward working to create a sense of security and freedom to then be able to have the opportunity to find meaning outside of work, with family, with volunteering, with giving back, with traveling the world. And there's two different schools of thought.
I agree that it's a personality question, but I think it's also absolutely correct that the modern like entrepreneurial culture like defaults you to the siren song of like the raising money and having a big and like this is like a journey like I went through, because I initially was like, oh, I'm gonna be this grandiose entrepreneur, I want to like start like and then I I read some stuff by Taleb, and like I was like really influenced by his like thought exercise on the idea of being like, what do you choose to be in life? Do you choose to be like a rock star or like a dentist? I think we've talked about this a bunch.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. And then I ended up doing kind of like what Nick does, where I was just like, I'm not going to raise money. I'm just going to do cash flow, unsexy stuff, make money. And then I ended up at the spot where I am today, which is where like, I was like, I can't do 10 years. I also can't do 6 months. Now I wait like, 5 minutes or 10 minutes for like where I put money into something. I'm like, oh, that was a good idea. Oh, that was a bad idea. And that was like the logical conclusion for me, which is like maybe an absurd level of, but like, I can't sit around that long. Like I can't. And I need like very high. It's not that I need high probability. I have to know very quickly, like whether I am profitable or not. Like the idea that I'm going to start a startup and take years.
Really short feedback loops.
Yes, it's the feedback
Which actually
loop.
helps you get into flow.
Extraordinarily
probably.
short feedback loops. And I think that's good because, especially if you don't know what you're doing, the shorter your feedback
You're
loop is,
rapidly
like
learning.
the more you learn and iterate. You're like, oh, that didn't
exactly.
work. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that didn't work.
Exactly.
If it takes you like 6
You
years
don't know
to be
you've
like,
made a
oh, that didn't
mistake
work.
sometimes
Yeah.
as a founder, building some kind of tech company for 6 months.
Yeah, and in like the tech world, like you can remain delusional for your entire life, actually,
you
if you
could.
have like enough charisma, I think. And just
Adam
never.
Newman, sir. Well, he secured the bag himself.
Yeah.
He's doing all right.
Does like some of this actually kind of like fall into the world that I'm used to? This is like the lens that I saw it through, which is, I don't know if this is like me just having only one tool so I see everything as a nail, but like what I thought of this maybe was like, as an investor, you can like go with the S&P 500 and that is going to work for you, or you can like go for these like moonshot meme coins or something and go for like this 100,000x. And like
That is a good analogy.
for any certain individual, one might be applicable and one might not be, and I think both are okay paths for each person.
Yeah, my probability of success is way lower than Nick's, which is already successful. It's like you can iterate your way very quickly to just like profitability and success in a bootstrapped cash flow focused
Here's
business.
the issue I have for first-time entrepreneurs, people who haven't had any level of like success yet. It's that in a venture-backed model, your average time to liquidation, I think it's like 7 years.
7 years.
And you can't take distributions on the way. You can take a salary, for sure. You can take a salary, but it's not going to be
You're
like
broke.
It's not going to be
Lifestyle
a generous
entrepreneurs
salary.
are way richer than venture-backed entrepreneurs. Lifestyle entrepreneurs are people with boats and multiple homes.
And I think maybe part of Nick Huber's thing is like, there's a little survivorship bias in when you hear these stories. Like you only hear a lot of the successful ones. And I was trying to think like, is there this brainwashing thing of like, no, you want to be rich, you want to be Elon Musk, this is the only way. And maybe they're right to some extent. If you want to be the richest man in the world, yes, you need to impact billions of people in a positive way and where they voluntarily give you their money. But I was thinking about when I went through my MBA, which I did like an entrepreneurship MBA, and I was thinking back to like the classes we had. And it was like how to finance the emerging enterprise, how to pitch your startup, how to get investors, how to analyze like a complex cap table. And we had these competitions, the venture capital investment challenge, the business plan pitch, but none of it was like how to analyze a cash flow statement, like how to optimize your cash conversion cycle. Like what are the options there? And occasionally we'd get some like fancy tech startup, but then you'd get like Joe Plumber visiting the MBA school and you don't really find out because he's not going to really tell you, but the guy's worth like $50-60 million because he scaled up plumbing across multiple regions and he built this service business that is just like humming like a fucking machine. And you're like, excuse me, you just unclog toilets? He's like, yeah, people need to unclog toilets. We unclog them quick, fast, cheap.
For $200 an hour.
$200 an hour. And so like, I think he's right that there is a little too much of and maybe it's just a survivorship bias. It's not like this like coordinated thing, but like even through university, there was a little too much bias on that and not like, hey, if you only have 10 grand, 30 grand, maybe you're lucky enough to have like 50 to 100 grand. Maybe you team up with someone and you pull capital together. Like how do you get to a business that's successful where you can actually hope to pay yourself in like 18 months?
I just had a funny thought. So like maybe there's something here. I think when you operate a business like mine, you want to invest in businesses like yours. And when you operate like businesses, like say you're like a service provider or like a cash, king, I think you want like people like that, from what I've found, want to angel invest in tech companies.
Right.
And they don't have exposure to that. They're not operating. So I think we tend to want to operate one thing and invest in another. I know for sure, like I actually don't have much interest investing in tech companies as an angel yet while I'm an operator. While I'm an operator, I just don't think I can provide the value necessary. Maybe after I'm done operating. But I'd much rather invest in like storage units and janitorial services and pool cleaning companies.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I will say though, like I've met a few people who are like, hey, I'm going to start this business. I'm going to do this exact same thing. And you know this business. Can you help me out? Sure. Can I give you money? No, I'm good. And it wasn't because of like an ego thing. They didn't want to take the money. Of course, it helps to have money. It's just they were starting businesses that they knew that the break even was in 45 days. Yeah. And they're like, I don't need your money. And two people that built multiple, like let's call it high single digit million a year EBITDA businesses denied money because it was like, yeah, I don't need it. And to me, I was like, fuck, that's a good business.
Yeah.
Like this guy took
All right,
a very
fine, take double.
yeah. So anyway, sometimes you don't see those around just because they're like, well, I don't need it. Like I'll take my 30, I'll turn into 45 in 3 months. I'll take my 45, I'll turn into 90 in like 6 months, and like, you kind of snowball it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds easy. It's not. You eat glass the whole fucking time, just like anyone else. But
Good business talk, boys.
yeah.
Elevate. Hope you get your money's worth.
That was a great little.
That's good.
Yeah.
Nick, what's on your list? What's on your magic list?
Well,
Inspire me.
I mentioned.
Go back to the water bottles.
Yeah. So
Let's just drive the car back off the road.
Nick Huber, being a man of social media as he is, he gave the Stanley Cup water bottles. They look like big coffee mugs to me, to investors.
They do
Phenomenon.
look like big coffee.
And like it's great. I think the worst thing about it is he slapped his logo on it. But thank you, Nick. I really appreciate the gift. And he wrote a note in there like, thank you for investing your hard-earned money with us. We'll try to do a good job with it. But for some reason, this thing is like absolutely viral. And we were just chatting on our content thing. We're like,
so does
all of our significant others are obsessed with
Does
these things.
everybody here have a significant other who just like
All right.
fucking loves Stanley
I have a
One?
funny story about it for sure. But yeah, I have been exposed to this. Yes. Yes. It's a female thing that has taken the world by storm.
First of all, it's soft, it's straw centered. So I think I can't as a male.
Right.
It's what?
It's you suck out of a straw with it.
Women really.
And I just can't sit
Love-
there.
I have the same thing.
Yeah, Erica has a straw water bottle, Yeti, and I have the one where you just like,
Yeah, drink out of a straw.
You're more of a
It's like,
guzzler.
Why do you?
I'm a guzzler. I guzzle because you get
you
way
drink-
more intake.
Do you drink
Yeah.
out of a straw?
Yes.
What?
What?
Really?
It's not a
Wait,
straw.
you're a straw guy?
It's actually a dick.
He just
No.
undermined your whole argument.
No, it's like a.
Well,
no,
I wasn't going to go there.
I have a gallon jug.
I know people were
I have a
thinking-
gallon
you
jug
do.
with like a
Yeah.
nozzle.
I could never do that. I could never nozzle it.
That's not a straw.
I need
though.
a full inversion, like to the dome. Yeah.
like if you have like a gallon.
I need
thing,
maximum
like,
intake
it's-
per second.
I kind of get it.
Yeah. But okay, so my story about this is I don't know much about the background of it, although I do know who was it that did a write-up on them recently. Basically, the company has come back from the dead, though. Like, not that they were dead, but they were just some like outdoor camping brand. And then all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, they are the brand for like that represents pop culture right now and has taken the world. I think they've done. God, I want to quote it, but it was like I think they've 10x'd their revenue over the
Probably
last few
easily,
years, right?
easily, right?
And I go home, I go to Sacramento, and my sister-in-law is there, and she's like a big TikToker, and she says something about like to Erica, she's like, do you have the Stanley? And like, I think Erica, no, she has the Stanley, and Erica sees she has the Stanley, and Erica's like, oh my God, you got the Stanley mug? And then I'm like, I hear that, I'm like, who the fuck cares about a Stanley mug? And I look over and I see my sister-in-law with this giant Stanley mug. And I'm like so interested. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? I have a Stanley mug. I've had it for 15 years. It looks like shit. I've been using it to go camping. It holds my coffee and my hot water, and that's about it. Why would you, a female, want a Stanley mug? And she's like, oh, it's all the rage on like TikTok. Like everyone has one. Everyone's doing it.
And the CEO of Stanley apparently hopped in the game and was like direct replying to some people, and it like further kicked off the thing.
Well, what really happened is they mastered influencer marketing. They got every influencer out there to talk about this.
Do we know if this is a coordinated effort or it just happened?
Oh no, this is a marketing game plan from Stanley.
But how? Like this company that's just like your
they went
dad
to
bought
every
it for
TikTok
camping. Suddenly it's
influencer.
like we're going into TikTok.
Yeah.
We're getting into hot girls buying our water.
There was a great analysis on it on LinkedIn, which is like my new platform where I'm spending time lately. I forget who did it. I think it was like, I know, it's so nerdy. I think it was like the Acquired guys that did it.
They
Yeah,
do
I
a
think
good
it
job
was.
of analyzing.
The Acquired guys did like a write-up on Stanley and the growth over the last few years. Remarkable growth. Yeah, there it is. They've gone from 75 million a year to 750 million a year.
Holy
2023.
shit. Okay.
It's literally a regular, like, it's not better than Yeti. It's not worse.
Well, did you
It's
guys
just-
see the
just-
evolution happen? It was like it started with Nalgene bottles, and then it went from Nalgene to Yeti.
That was a funny
and
post.
then from Yeti to now this.
It just speaks to the power of people with influence. That's what's fascinating about the psychology here. People that have influence can get people to do crazy ass things and be like, I need that to look like I belong with everybody else.
Is that really like how this started? Like
That's how
Stanley?
I look at it. Oh, is that how it's, yeah.
I don't know. Like this.
No, that's what
To me,
happened.
this is the equivalent of like Coleman. Just like they're in a boardroom. You know, everybody's sitting around like.
We gotta be
We
relevant.
need ideas. Like, what do you have? And then one guy just
Don
goes-
Draper walks in.
just fucking rips the line. And he's like, you know what hot girls need? Lanterns. You're gonna do influencer marketing. And then people are like, Jerry, that's fucking brilliant. And then next thing you know, everybody on TikTok has like kerosene lamps in their background. Like, why? This doesn't
exactly
make any
what happened.
sense. Like, this is like, is that why it happened? I don't
That's
know.
exactly what happened.
But I have a similar story to you because like one day like Amber like hanging out with, she's like got this like mug. She's like, I just have to tell you, like I got this mug and this color is so rare and like
A one of one, sir?
and I was just like, that's a water bottle. But in my brain now I'm like trained. I'm like, you have to empathize with what's happening here. Like, sure, you don't understand
You
anything
learned.
that's going on.
Steven, good
You
learning.
don't understand why this
The
person
machine is learning.
loves
Frameworks are
this generic thing that holds water that looks like a thing you bought on Amazon for $8 the other day. But you're just like, okay. So I was just like, tell me more about this, Stanley. And then
now-
I learned of the TikTok trend. I'm like, everybody on TikTok has
Are
them.
there?
And I'm
I
just-
wonder. Are there like limited edition colors?
yes,
Oh,
apparently
no.
some of the colors are.
They're fighting over the Valentine's mode. And I think
It's like
one
Beanie
of the
Babies you
brilliant
can
parts
drink out
was
of.
like they said, okay, people are buying this. Now let's let unlimited like variations and modifications. There's one with a fucking backpack. I think Jimmy might have showed it on the screen earlier. And what blows my mind is like, okay, you have factories, you have production, and all of a sudden 10x the volume. And somehow they've been able to keep up with it. Like, I want to hear from the fucking operations guy how he was probably sitting around doing a spreadsheet. He's like, what the fuck is, what? Wait,
Yeah,
what?
what?
We're out of inventory in two days? We need how many? And somehow made it happen.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive.
I'm kind of curious, like,
That's true too, man.
is this phenomenon unique, or is this just a human thing? Like, are there examples of this amongst like different cohorts, males? Like, is this similar to how guys
for
get
sure, like
crazy over like
Prime?
Nike dunks or some
Prime?
shit?
Prime.
oh, God.
You know
there is a
about
little
that,
bit of a
right?
collectible
Yeah, I know about
thing.
Prime.
That's the
Did you see the
ultimate
South Park
example of
episode?
this. No.
They had a drink called Cred, and all the kids are coming to school with the Cred. They're like, Clyde doesn't have any cred, and they were like, oh my god.
Wait, what's Prime? I don't even know about this.
Oh, it's like Logan Paul's
Prime
like
is
drink.
just
They
drink.
just like, it's just like a complete scam. But he's
It's
like,
a scam.
look how much sugar and all this salt is in Gatorade. It's like, yeah, they're electrolytes. That's what salt is.
They just literally, they just got kids to want that. and kids collect them and go crazy for
Selling
them.
like insane
Kids will
amounts.
literally go to other countries to like get stuff that they can't access. It's all about the collectible.
It's like
all about the
drinkable
clout.
Beanie Babies.
It's all about the cred, I should say, not the clout.
Yeah.
It's like
And it's mostly dudes on this one.
it's all young
dudes.
boys.
Yeah.
It's all young boys, and they're crazy for Prime. I actually don't know the stats on like the revenue and stuff, but I think it's enormous.
It's
what
huge.
done.
It's billions. It's a multi-billion-dollar thing.
It's wild.
It's nuts. I mean, it's basically just like NFTs, right? Like we're just reinventing NFTs over and over again, or NFTs reinvented.
Oh my God!
This.
They've done 1.2 billion.
1.2 billion
revenue.
Woo!
Pretty high margins in the
It's a lot of sugar
soft
water.
drink game.
Yeah, high margins,
Damn.
low multiples.
Good for you,
He's got
Logan.
enough money to pay back those NFTs he scammed.
Yeah, I guess he didn't do a good job of paying them back though.
He did not. He did not. Don't sue me, Logan. Wait. Back to the Stanleys. The reason like we're talking about this was because like, okay, I got the Stanley thing. It was weird, but then I realized there was like a whole nother level to it. Where like girls are like buying accessories for their Stanleys. Like
No,
they've got like
come on.
Stanley
No, there's a backpack.
upgrades. Like you can put a backpack on your Stanley. There's a Stanley like nut tray you can put. Wait, we have videos of this. Like this went around Twitter where people were like, I didn't realize how crazy this has gotten. This person is they're putting like some sort of like nut holder tray
What is it,
on
like
top
a-
of their Stanley, pouring some M&Ms in it, pouring some nuts in it.
Now that's pretty advanced. Now we're talking.
This is
All right,
just-
now I'm in.
no,
I'm back in.
Wait,
the Amazon
look how-
sellers. I was just
Yo,
gonna say this
look
is Nick's
how meta
people.
this is. The straw has a Stanley as the cap of the straw.
I just noticed that. That's crazy. So the cap
my
is
God.
actually a
Cap
Stanley
is a
mug.
Stanley. It's just like Inception all the way down. Now, if the cap to the Stanley also had a straw with the cap to the Stanley on it, and it also had a
Can we have
Be
a
very
brief
impressed.
moment about the deeper psychology of this here?
Yeah,
Just
please
what is
pull me
going-
out of this.
No, what is going on?
We
How
haven't-
does this
We
happen?
haven't even seen the backpack yet.
All right,
No,
show
we
me
saw the backpack. Jimmy
We
showed
did
the backpack.
Jimmy, show the back. Show them the Stanley backpacks.
He's already
he
showed it to him.
did.
Well, I didn't see it. Jimmy, show me the Stanley
Steven,
backpack.
the show doesn't revolve around you.
It literally does.
Steven, no, Steven. Come,
It
tell me
literally
what's going-
25% revolves around me.
No, Steven, tell me what's going on here. Why is this happening?
Bitches be crazy, Armand.
Oh my God!
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was just for the lulz.
Oh God! All right, next topic. Yeah, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, I don't got like a.
All right, Nick,
tie-in.
nuke it. Let's
I
just,
think it's fascinating.
Fire the missiles.
I
It's
need like a
fascinating.
smoke bomb where I can just throw it down and just disappear.
I think that this is what I'll say, and I'm saying it to Eric because I think he'll have something proper to add.
Something.
You guys got muted.
I think no, they're muted. They're muted. I think what it speaks to is like that we're creatures that want to belong,
Yeah.
and it's fascinating to see how far people will go.
And maybe more so now than ever in this generation, it's like more about the belonging.
Big time.
Like I don't know. I was talking with Steven's brother earlier. I was asking about this younger generation, which he's not even a part of. But I was just asking if he gets it. He's like, yeah. I think they like less about like action, less about free thought, just more about clout and belonging and stuff. I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
probably.
no one's talking, so
Yeah.
you just have to signal that you're on the same team.
Important to note that none of our girlfriends are Zoomers.
Yes, that's
Yeah, we're just.
true.
I mean, we're lost here.
Maybe Borderlands. Yeah.
That's
Wait,
true.
where does Zoomer end off at?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Actually.
I don't know exactly, but
They're just
not even
those young
close.
people.
Yeah.
The youth.
Two U's.
Two youths.
It's fascinating though. I think it's the beginning of seeing like, and wow, so many companies are coming back from the dead and going to continue to do that. Like Champion did that.
Yeah.
Really great job of that.
Oh, what else can we bring back?
Oh, let's like acquire like
Oh,
a dog shit
we should
brand.
bring something
Fila.
back.
Bring.
Let's like acquire.
I
think
used to be like
Fila
really
has
sick
started
when we
to-
were like
yeah.
15, but
Fila.
it's.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Fila.
He just said it.
Oh, That's
Yeah.
probably why it stepped into my head.
Fila would be a good one. Remember those ones that used to light up in the back? What was that called?
Oh,
Oh.
light brights. Wait, no,
No.
that's a different thing.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved that shit.
I wanted
LA
it
lights.
so
Those are
bad.
just
LA lights.
Lights,
Yeah.
yes.
Or pumps. Those would be fucking
pump-
huge.
I was convinced the pumps made me run faster. I used to literally like pump my shoes up and be like, "Mom, watch how fast I'm about to run." And just be
I
like,
could see Fubu having a comeback.
Oh my
I
God.
could see that. Damon
a-
John would have. Does he own any of it still? He would.
he
love
kept
that.
the piece for sure.
He would love that.
Wait, what does FUBU stand for again?
For us, by us.
Oh,
You wouldn't understand.
Yeah, and not for you. dude.
Yeah, but not for you.
We used to have different versions of what that meant.
Oh,
when I
really?
grew up.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna start.
Not to be mentioned
for
here.
Steven
Yeah.
by Steven. Doesn't have the
Is
same
this-
ring to it.
Stanley Cups,
Hey,
capitalism at
Good
its
cocktails,
finest.
Nick.
Yeah.
Good cocktails.
Wait, yo, by the way, drinking an entire cup of an old fashioned is not the same as drinking a cup of a beer.
Yeah. This
You
is
don't
hitting.
say so. Bitches be crazy, huh?
This is
Well,
hitting.
I would have said that stone cold sober.
All right, I'm gonna need you to like dive into the different part of your brain for this next topic.
No, don't do that to me.
Okay, so my favorite part of the whole week in the group chat was our brother from down below, Javier Milei. He had a little speech at the World Economic Forum, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the intro, and then I'm going to play a little game with you guys, a little Jeopardy, and you guys pick which quote you want to read based on the topic.
Fun.
Okay.
I like games.
So if you haven't watched this, he gave it about, I don't know, maybe like 5, 6,
is at
7 days ago.
Davos.
Davos. It was, became popular because of him
me get a cue
speaking directly face to face with the crowd, and was basically antithetical to like the whole concept of Davos, which is like a group of, we'd call them elites, getting together, coming with a plan, collectivism, good for all, policies that can be handed down from the top to create growth and relieve poverty from all. So I'll read the intro and then we'll play our little game. So he says, "Today I'm here to tell you that the Western world is in danger. It is in danger because those who are supposed to have to defend the values of the West are co-opted by a vision of the world that inexorably leads to socialism and thereby to poverty. Unfortunately, in recent decades, the main leaders of the Western world have abandoned the model of freedom for different versions of what we call collectivism. Some have been motivated by well-meaning individuals who are willing to help others, and others have been motivated by the wish to belong to a privileged caste." So I'll stop there for a second. We've talked a lot about collectivism versus individualism, and this is what this talk is all
That's one
about.
of my favorite themes.
What are we optimizing for? And then he says this to a group who is probably part made of individuals who are well-intended, looking to help others, and then another part who's just happy to be part of the crew and maybe rub shoulders with the crew to be part of an elite cast. Okay, so topics on the Jeopardy board. I have the data for 100, social justice for 200, libertarianism
so fun.
for 300, market failures and market economics for 400, on feminism and climate change policies for 500, how the state controls for 600, Argentina should be rich for 700, and then I'll leave the final message. So if anyone...
This is amazing. I didn't even
This
know
is
this was happening.
incredible.
I need a board because I don't remember anything you
I
said.
need a visual.
But if I had the visual to go along with it,
I think I like libertarianism for 300.
Okay,
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
libertarianism
It's a good
for
buzzword.
300. And the
What do you
quote
got?
is...
Just middle of the ground. Started easy,
Yeah.
you know?
Now, what is it when we mean when we talk about libertarianism? And let me quote the words of the greatest authority of freedom in Argentina, Professor Alberto Benegas Lynch Jr., who said that libertarianism is the unrestricted respect for the life project of others, based upon the principle of non-aggression, in defense of the right to life, liberty, and property. Its fundamental institutions are private property, markets free from state intervention, free competition, and the division of labor and social cooperation, in which success is achieved only by serving others with goods of better quality or at a better price. In other words, capitalist successful business people are social benefactors who, far from appropriating the wealth of others, contribute to the general well-being. Ultimately, a successful entrepreneur is a hero. Thoughts, questions, concerns?
Oh, so good already, man. Good pull.
It's such an interesting thing because it's like, to what degree should markets be free becomes the question of libertarianism that I think becomes the area of discussion that's most controversial within that topic.
Yeah.
But as an ethos and as a way of thinking and a philosophy, it's extremely attractive to me.
I mean,
my personality.
as an entrepreneur, I kind of feel seen. You know,
yeah.
I generally kind of like fall in the camp of if everyone kind of operates generally towards their self-interest, like things work out for the better. And like history has proven that. Like we've seen that every kind of collectivism focused venture from a state level has turned into poverty. And you know, he speaks from a pretty good street cred, right? Argentina used to be one of those like great world powers, and I think in the speech he says
this key opener. He's like, "Listen, I'm speaking
the
to
Paris
you
of
as
South America.
yeah,
as the what?
Was that what it was? The Paris of South America. Was that Buenos Aires? Was that the name?
There's a lot of those, but yeah, I could see that. But he had that, you know,
Are there a lot of those?
a lot of places.
Are there a
say,
lot
like,
of-
Beirut says they're the Paris of the Middle East, for example. They
But
used to say
they're not.
that.
Beirut's not the Paris of South America.
correct.
No. But yeah, I think that in his position, given the country's history, they do have the right to speak on this much more than others.
So out of the libertarian argument, I think you know, some of the biggest ones that get the most attention is the non-aggression part, which is like we don't attack other countries. But I think the most important part is this right to property and the right to transact property voluntarily back and forth. And what I think this ultimately leads to is like, should the government place rules, regulations on your ability to transact and on your own property? And you know, in general, it's kind of a wide stroke, but like when there's less regulation, I think there is growth. There is, you know, prosperity, and not just prosperity, but also like you see people live longer, you see healthier lives, you see like people grow into the things that they want to become. And I
Because
don't,
the markets are able to innovate.
yeah,
Companies are able to.
But I think like one area that we'll probably agree on is in terms of regulation, right? Like a non-free market is like building codes, and we talked about this
Yes.
offline. And building codes is interesting because it's like that's where you have intervention, but it kind of just like sets a baseline for free market, right?
Yep.
So it's like there's still free market, but there's just like this standard you have to meet. And I think that is interesting because it's like a nuance
But
to free market.
it is interesting. It's a baseline now, but it didn't used to be. First, there had to be like complete chaotic innovation.
Oh, good point.
Then regulation
Right.
had to arrive.
But like if you were
so
to
to the incumbent and to the person in that world, it felt extremely overpowering and overreach from the government to come in and say
Right.
how you can and cannot build.
Right, so it's not-
But we become used to it. It becomes a baseline.
Well, it's not libertarian to have building codes, right?
It's not,
And
yeah.
like if you were to just operate to your own self-interest as the builder, you would cut corners at every way, you know, maximize
Absolutely.
your profitability,
Maximize profit.
and like, you know, that would be worse off for
Yeah, but
humanity.
libertarians would say that some sort of market would arrive.
Yeah, yeah,
for people who would scope out your deficiencies as a builder. And
But
then
you might
would-
like kill a bunch of kids in a school before you get to that point.
Yeah, this is part of the problem. Like there's this question of like, okay, if you knew that if you did no regulations at all in a particular industry, in the near term, like 500,000 children would die. But like 40 years down the road, there would be like immense prosperity. Like the market would flourish. It'd be like all the, and then you'd be like, would you take that? Right. And people would be like, I don't know. But I feel like if somebody was like, one child died, but all of this prosperity happened, people would be like, no, I don't want to like hamstring. Like this is kind of what the question is. Like you have this kind of push-pull versus like in crypto, we have the unregulated market to a degree, right? We sort of see what it produces. It is very boom and bust, but it also moves very quickly. But along the way, like there are just people just carried out in stretchers all over the place.
So
Yeah.
Tom Nom Nom mentions Turkish earthquakes. I don't know the death toll, but when I heard it, I was like, it was in multiple orders of magnitude of what you would expect in an earthquake.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, like in let's say
It's definitely
even
over
in
10,000.
somewhere like San Francisco. And so I do like this way of taking arguments in the extreme, like what if there were no building codes? But then don't we have a part in the extreme now where like California is a good example where some would say it's the most stringent building code area of the world, and you have house prices that as a ratio to the average salary are like just completely out of whack, almost delusional at this point.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm like no libertarian. It was a thing I flirted with, right? But I'm like a bit of a realist on both sides. And for people who were
5,000.
in Austin, with like they may have witnessed me argue with Noah from the Discord, where I was just like kind of hammering him on the libertarian thing, and I was just like, you want driver's licenses, you want kids to buy guns in Walmart, just like taking it to like a complete extreme, because like my point was like, okay, there are some rules that we want, there are some regulations that are okay, and it's just like a question of like which ones and why, not like this like sort of Ayn Randian like utopian paradise, right?
Do you
So Noah's a good dude. He was arguing for the full libertarian.
yeah, he's like a Ayn
yeah, and he
Rand.
may have just been like trolling me for the lulz. I don't know, but like he was arguing the whole
And
position.
he's quite knowledgeable on like
He's very
Ayn
smart.
Rand,
No,
the
great dude. Love him.
concept,
Yeah.
and like what it entails and what are the pros and cons of it. I think he's pretty eloquent and like
Right.
at least
But
going
I
on an
also
argument.
hate the. So before we roll this, I like made everybody here watch like a video of Crystal Ball on Breaking Points on YouTube.
What was her counterpoint?
Just she did like a counter to the Milei speech. You guys should go and watch it. I thought it was fucking terrible. I thought it was like horrifically poor, ill researched, and it was just like it was just straw man after straw man, right? Like so like Milei's kind of thing is sort of like, okay, we've constructed this society. We've given far too much power to these sort of like bureaucratic elites, and they have sort of ruined the world to an extent, right? But then people come in and they're like, like I could sit here and be like, okay, we should give less power to the government and bureaucracies, and they'll be like, oh, so you think we shouldn't have building codes? And I'm just like, no,
Right,
building
right.
codes are fine.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, don't do all the other stuff.
So-
That's like a bad argument.
Do you guys think there are regulations that are demanded from the bottom up, and then clearly there are regulations from the top down, right? Like regulations where the people are asking for, like, we need to have building codes, or like an example of right now, people who live along the border, communities along the border, like, can we please just enforce the border? Like, will you please do this for us? And I think maybe that's the delineation that we could kind of intellectually be like, okay, if these are ground up things from a community, maybe they deserve more of like, well, this is in the building code argument versus like a Chinese COVID zero from the top down that has no basis in reality of like what's happening on the ground. Because I agree with both arguments that we need regulations, but I also don't want a heavy hand. So like I'm trying to figure out when I see a regulation, how do I know, is this in the building code camp or like some, backwards thing from a group who thought they had a good idea?
Good framing.
Regulations are good where the market doesn't function well.
What
Like
was your
either.
$1,000?
All right, you want me to hit another
Wow.
topic?
Yeah, we
Okay.
got to hit as many as we can.
Armand
This is
just-
Jeopardy.
Armand hit a
We're
blunt off
Jeopardy
screen.
here.
He's
We're
like,
on the $300 key. I'm trying to make some money.
All right, here we go. The data, social justice, market failures and market economics, on feminism and climate change policies, how the state controls, and Argentina should be
turn.
rich.
Wait,
Argentina should be rich is a hell of a.
I was just talking about market failures and market economics.
Okay,
Okay,
you got
that's
both
his
there.
choice. Okay. Under the pretext of a supposed market failure, regulations are introduced. These regulations create distortions in the price system, prevent economic calculus, and therefore also prevent saving, investment, and growth. This problem lies mainly in the fact that not even supposed libertarian economists understand what the market is, because if they did understand, it would quickly be seen that it's impossible for there to be market failures. The market is not a mere graph describing a curve of supply and demand. The market is a mechanism for social cooperation, whereby you voluntarily exchange ownership rights. Therefore, based on this definition, talking about a market failure is an oxymoron. there are no market failures. If transactions are voluntary, the only context in which there can be a market failure is if there is a coercion, and the only one that is able to coerce generally is the state, which holds a monopoly on violence.
This guy's so
By the way,
fucking
this is his
based.
quote.
I'm reading
This guy
directly
is
from
so
the transcript.
fucking based.
That's
It's
his
unbelievable.
quote that I least agree with in the whole speech.
No, but I felt like this
but
was.
he is.
This is like.
I generally agree with you.
I think this is like right up your alley. I feel like you've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
Just like how, like, I don't want to paraphrase you. I don't want you to talk, but I want to tee you up here. It's like you've been talking a lot about how our most expensive things are the things in which regulation has gotten their hands on, like insurance and education,
Yeah,
etc.
that was that Bill Gurley talk too. Regulatory capture, like, did a really good job of highlighting that.
Yeah, the biggest thing that grinded my gears about the crystal ball video that we watched, that
Yeah,
again
tell me,
everybody
Steve.
should watch,
Tell me.
is that like there's this idea that like people on like the far left, or maybe it's just the generalized left, put forth that it's just like it's to sum it up in maybe poor terms, but it's basically like all of your problems are the result of these like greedy billionaires who are extracting wealth, and we need you to make the government bigger to like fight those people.
Right.
And like a big point of Milei's speech was like, that's fucking stupid. Like the idea that like government checks like large corporate interests is belied by like everything we know about history. Like for the most part, government and large business are like, they work hand in hand. They're just like that fucking meme where they're like doing like the big shit. Like you probably know this being in like the AI realm. Like there's nothing that like Facebook and OpenAI and Microsoft and Google would like more than for Congress to come in and be like, here is this gigantic set of regulatory requirements and rules you have to follow, and you have to run everything by, because what it means is that you have to have a team of lawyers to comb through all the
No
regulations.
startup wins that game.
Squeeze everybody out, and then it's like the freaking I want to just keep putting memes on the screen. It's like the guy when
you
was
know
riding
how
the bike and he
terrified-
puts his thing in the spread, like, oh, why would big business do this? You just like introduce this like
Incumbents
regulation.
are terrified of startups, but
Yes.
regulation guarantees their
squeezes them out
Exactly.
over and over
Exactly.
and over again. And like to Eric's point, like if you look at everything in the country, that's like, why is it so expensive? Like the most expensive shit in the country, what is it? Healthcare,
education.
education, boom,
Yeah.
boom. Like I just
There goes most
drop
of
the
your
mic and like walk off screen.
Yeah.
I think number one
Gas.
deflationary thing is like televisions. There's never been a law where the government's just like every American deserves to own like 6 televisions. It just doesn't happen. It'd be like the big tech just made.
Yeah, that's why you can get like
Televisions
a
and just keep
60-inch
making them-
LCD LED times
Well,
7
can,
for
can
$200
someone
bucks.
comment on this? It's impossible for there to be market failures.
I disagree with that. Like, so I disagree with that a lot. I think there's tons of reasons why the market can fail. Like the market fails when it does not price in like particular externalities, right? Like there are transactions that you are a party to that you do not consent to. Like if you live on a river that Rockefeller basically dumped all of his oil or gasoline into, right? Like, is that a market that's obviously a market failure? Like, and this isn't even like controversial amongst like libertarians. Like Milton Friedman acknowledges this and the concept of externalities, and that there are roles for the government to play in mitigating that. There are transactions
free
you don't
market sort of
consent to, and like
thought
there is a
leaders.
role. Yeah, and I think there's like an additional category too, like where stuff happens, but like there's like a transaction, but the cost to it is deferred like way down the road and not even borne necessarily by you. For example, you build a house and then you sell it to somebody. You buy a parcel of land, you hire a contractor to build a bunch of stuff, and then you sell the house. You, the person who purchased the parcel of land, hire the contractor, your interests are not aligned with the person who just bought it. And the person who just bought it like has no marketplace to sort of recognize where you skirted all this stuff in the building code and you created something that might fall down upon them and kill them. Like,
Yeah.
that's perfectly coherent in my like conception of like this like ideology with like
a role for governments to do stuff. Like the idea that it's being used to sort of like bash Javier over the head is like silly. And I think a lot of people in libertarian circles, like, I mean, libertarians are like this kind of like, they're like 10,000 cats running around. They don't agree on anything. So it's not like there's like a one ideology.
It's kind of the point of the ideology.
Kind of, right? And that's why they never win anything, because they can't coordinate. But there are many in the circles who
I was
are
gonna
like,
ask that question.
yeah,
Thank you for answering.
that's perfectly fine to do that, because if you look at the way the market operates, this is clearly actually like a bit of a failure of the market. Like you can't have, like if you buy a crappy toilet plunger and it doesn't unclog your toilet and your bathroom floods, that sucks. But like you keep living. Like if you buy a poorly designed house and it falls on you and kills you and your entire family,
Fatal
like,
bug.
That's like that's totally different. Like, and you have to be, I think, a little bit of a crazy person to
think you can
sorry,
get away with.
sorry, Noah, to think that like you have to go like full.
Well, nothing.
Full everything,
I've
right?
never seen anything work out in its full extreme.
Well, was Noah's take that, well, in the long term, the market does work itself out? Was that his
was
point?
that the
But I
point?
think I actually agree with that. I think that's correct. But
I'm
like,
not- yeah,
you
yeah.
wanna
have
live
to
in a
step
world like
over
that.
so many
Right.
bodies
That-
on the
that-
way.
that-
It's like,
that-
why would
yeah,
you even want
The
it?
cost of it is just.
Yeah, like if you knew you could have like a little bit larger
80%.
government and you could infringe upon your market freedoms by like 0.5% and then save 1 million lives, like every normal human with a functioning brain would be like, yeah, I'll take that trade-off.
Yeah, another way to look at it is 100% optimization in the long term versus 80% optimization in the long term at the cost that without the cost.
Yeah. And like human lives they're sort of sticky in a way, right? Like there are certain things in your life that you can learn. Like you touch a hot stove once and you're like, oh, I shouldn't do that. And you can iterate within your life. Like anything that kills you or takes an entire generation being sort of wiped out to learn a lesson is not
Or has
good.
like really
Like,
long
you-
feedback loops. Like it might
Yeah.
find 8 years that
that's,
that
that's
builder
a much,
is.
That's a much smarter way to put it. Like anything with like an extraordinarily long feedback loop that has like a really excess cost, like I think it's perfectly acceptable for people in a society to come together and be like, we don't want that.
I wanted your guys' like reaction to this. Like when I watch and listen to Milei, and then I watch and listen to the reaction. This is my like objective, radically moderate perspective and analysis. I listen to Milei, and he doesn't use loaded language. He's not emotional. He speaks in facts. He didn't say things like woke this or woke that. He just spoke from the perspective and the facts and the data that were available to articulate a message. When you hear the counter argument, it's loaded language, it's emotional, it's highly perspective oriented, and there's no data or facts to often support the points. Like we were watching it like right before. Milei opens up his talk by discussing exactly how flat the economy and society was, innovation was, and the ascension of people in their sort of like right to like more, goods and services and higher quality of living was for hundreds of
oh,
years.
did you just use the data for 200?
Yeah, here he goes.
Wait. Wait,
quote it.
before
Quote
you
it.
go on,
Quote it.
I agree with you in the speech. Have you seen some of the other clips of Javier?
Yes, he is the opposite of that. He
No,
is
but I'm
highly
talking about-
emotional.
yeah.
He's
In this
fucking
silo.
cussing.
Oh,
his-
the speech.
No,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
In this
I agree with
silo.
you in the speech.
In this silo.
There's probably some people listening who are like,
No,
wait a minute, I saw
he
a
would
video.
not have gotten to where he is without
There's a little bit of
fiery populist
bombastic
sort of
talk.
bombastic talk. But in this delivery
yes.
was
This
very
speech
impressive.
was very measured.
Okay, go ahead.
And real quick, shout out to the chat because Steven, you weren't able to see it, but you read Adam's mind in the chat. He said, this was the weakest part of the speech, in my opinion. There are plenty of externalities that markets don't account for, pollution being an obvious example.
Oh, I love it when like me and Adam converge on stuff. It just like feels like that's
just
like-
happened.
It's like the only thing I can count on is being like logical in the world. Like where there's like some overlap there. I'm like, oh, okay.
Wait, your
That's
argument's
probably right.
Okay. All right, so I didn't include all the data, but here's the data part I took out. He says, that said, when you look at per capita GDP since the year 1800 until today, what you will see is that after the Industrial Revolution, global per capita GDP multiplied by over 15 times, which meant a boom in growth that lifted 90% of the global population out of poverty. We should remember that by the year 1800, about 95% of the world's population lived in extreme poverty. And that figure dropped to 5% by the year 2020. The conclusion is obvious. And before that, he goes on to say that from the year 0 to 1800, there was basically anemic growth, except when, in like whatever, in 1600s, whatever, when America was founded. And then starting the Industrial Revolution, when we kind of take on this capitalism approach to growing a society, like growth starts to compound at like 2 to 5%. And
what came first, the capitalist approach or just innovation? Because I think like innovation is something to look at in and of itself in a silo. And
like
see,
you said, there was a
innovation came
free-for-all.
first,
Like
but
the
the
Industrial
capitalist
Revolution
flowed
was probably a
to the
free-for-all.
perch.
Yeah, it
And in
was.
that case, you had barons making incredible amounts of money, probably exploiting labor.
barons? I would love to be a baron.
Maybe
Yeah.
a robber baron.
Robert Baron, Rockefeller, who else?
I'm more of
Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
I'm more of a
Vanderbilt.
duke, actually.
Carnegie,
Carnegie.
J.P. Morgan.
And so they probably, I think they did create net economic good and net social good. I think they clearly did, but they probably, took advantage of like,
I miss those titles.
yeah,
I wish I was a count.
baron,
Count?
senator.
I definitely see you as a baron.
I got count energy.
I mean, you have Shaw. What's wrong with Shaw?
yeah.
Yeah, you
The
are.
Shaw thing is really...
Oh, dude.
Southside is up in the mix right now.
Southside's in the chat again.
Southside's in the
I
mix,
saw him,
dude.
yeah.
What's up, dude?
I definitely saw peace to the Shah. My new favorite panelist.
Okay, the open tables are social justice for 400.
All right, let's go there.
You wanna go there?
That's a different.
That's
Let's
so
get out of
spicy.
economics.
Okay, social
what does he
justice
say?
for 400. So they therefore advocate for social justice. But this concept, which in the developed world became fashionable in recent times, in my country has been a constant in political discourse for over 80 years.
Yep.
The problem is that social justice is not just, and it does not contribute to general well-being. Quite on the contrary, it's intrinsically unfair because it's violent. It's unjust because the state is financed through tax, and taxes are collected coercively. Or can any one of us say that we voluntarily pay taxes? This means that the state is financed through coercion, and that the higher the tax burden, the higher the coercion, and the lower the freedom. Those who promote social justice start with the idea that the whole economy is a pie that can be shared differently. But that pie is not a given. It's wealth that is generated in what Israel Kirzner, for instance, calls a market discovery process.
This part of the speech is like a big aha for me because I just realized that the whole thing is the same. So like again, the Crystal thing, she's talking about the elites and he's on the billionaire side, whatever, which I think is extremely stupid. But like the way this starts is you have like Wild West, right? And then you have robber barons. There's no regulation. And then these people just sort of like rape and pillage the countryside and amass like billions and they get very, very rich, right? And then people are like, oh, we need government to come in, right? And like help us. But like government doesn't push those people out, right? What happens is government comes in and then these people, what they do next is they co-opt government. They get government to come in and make a bunch of regulations. And then the robber baron types, they co-opt the government to make the regulations such that it squeezes their competition out of the market, right? And then we're in the final stage now where people have really had it and like they can't really squeeze them. So what they're doing now, and what's happening at Davos, what Milei was talking about was now they're not co-opting government to sort of entrench them economically. They're hopping on the collectivist social justice thing. Like, and you see this like in the air in the last like, you see it happening, right? Suddenly, like every giant billionaire, massive corporation, they're all just like stamping rainbow flags everywhere. They're very interested in like racism and social justice, and it's like they don't give a fuck. They're just like, what can we co-opt now to sort of just keep like our power entrenched? And that's just the latest thing, and that's what Milei points out in the speech. And I thought it was like very incisive. He's like, they're sort of like latching onto this collectivist movement.
But I have a question about that because like if I were to like try to create the modern day robber barons, right, and name them, it'd be like Zuckerberg, Bezos,
Musk.
Elon, right? Those are the modern day robber barons, and I don't think any of them are really doing what you're saying. Like those guys, I don't think that they're actually doing
The
that.
modern days are mostly they're corporations now, though.
But what if I replace that with like Jamie Dimon, for example? Like in his CNBC interview, he's got like a Ukraine flag on his lapel.
Yeah, BlackRock,
Why?
ESG, like
Okay,
DEI,
so the
like this is
ESG
entrenched at like
yeah.
a massively institutional level.
Yeah, but it still isn't to the degree that they're like. I don't think that they're like co-opting
Disney,
Yeah, Disney. There you go. That
like,
Disney's
you
working.
see this everywhere. It's like the last stand.
That's because everybody's a politician, and they think that they're casting a vote to what will end up being popular and will end up supporting their economic like position. But sometimes they make mistakes and they don't understand the market well enough and the populace well enough to see what the backlash will be. I think people do those things because everyone's a politician.
No, it. Well, I don't want to say no,
mean,
but it's like,
but also like
it's
the
like, don't take my money. I totally.
I mean,
see
I don't
the
even
world
remember
as you
like
see it. And,
what era was the robber barons? That was like early 1900s.
yeah, late 1800s,
late
early
1800s. Like I don't know what the regulatory environment was at that time, but like
not much until like
right,
Teddy
I'm-
Roosevelt.
I'm like pretty sure that right now, like the regulatory regime is like more strict, even to the modern day robber barons. So it's
Way
like
more.
so like they can't even operate the way that like
Correct, which is why they
Vanderbilt
are
did.
going to the next level now.
but I don't see it the same way that you do. I see it with Disney for sure, but I don't see it with like Elon. I don't see it with Bezos.
No, it's not with Elon, but that's why they are all trying to destroy Elon, because he's the guy who's not fitting in with like all of the sort of Davos type elites of the world. They're all saying the same thing. They're all hopping on their private jets and going to Switzerland and telling you that
And
like,
hiring
climate
prostitutes,
change
apparently.
is bad. Yeah, well, they're doing a lot of cocaine in the background, a lot of prostitutes, but like
Was that real
climate
news?
change is bad and we
They're
need
maxed
diversity.
out.
Blah blah blah.
100% utilization for the
Escorts
prostitutes
were
and
booked out for the week.
yeah, they're booked
That's
out.
absolutely hilarious.
I wish we had some on-chain analytics for that. Probably very
I
insightful.
don't know if there's any way
little
to
black book.
actually prove that, but that's hilarious.
Yeah.
So I mean, he says that social justice is unjust because it's violent.
So that was interesting. That's a really cool statement. Why is it violent?
It feels violent from someone who's
No,
like
it
a
only ends up becoming violent because it all starts with like, hey guys, here's the right thing to do. But then when people don't want to do it, you have to force them to do it.
or question.
Yeah, and it just like by nature becomes forceful.
That's just
And so
that's just
this goes
government,
back
right?
to but this goes back to the conversation around like equity, the definition of that, equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome. And social justice unfortunately leads to situations oftentimes where you have to force equality of outcome.
And I think the key word there is force, because like I don't think anyone would have any problem with like and Milei says this. He says it is made up of people who are trying to do good and help others. And then
Everybody who's trying to create equality of outcome, by the way, thinks that they're doing something beautiful for the world.
right, like
But you don't realize sometimes when you're so wrapped up in the ideology, the cost at which it comes with, and how it might actually be like completely misinformed.
there's one side which is like, are you trying to persuade minds through your argument and showing the plight of this group and persuading people with an argument that like, no, there is equality, there is opportunity, we need to do this, versus handing down a policy and also like laying down this like social policy, which is like,
Yeah.
if you're outside of this, well then we're not gonna only say you're a bad person, but then we're gonna like add on these ad hominem attacks and just go after you personally. It's not an open discord. And I think maybe that's the part that's violent, when you go after people personally and they go after
I
their
think the area
business.
that everyone struggles over more than anything, if I really had to boil it down, is people just if you could solve the equality of opportunity so that the starting line is at least more similar across the board for people, I think everyone would relax. It would solve the needs and the wants and the desires of both sides of individualism and collectivists. That's the idea at the end of the day, is like people want equality of opportunity. There was the meme we were looking at like last week where it was like two people behind a fence at a baseball game. One person was really short, standing on top of a little box. The other person was tall, looking from the outside of the stadium into the stadium to watch the game. And it was trying to illustrate this equality issue. How do you solve that? And I know we've talked about on this podcast a lot, investment into communities, education, so on and so forth. Those are some ideas. But I think if more efforts were aligned toward that, then the conversation would be so different. But if you're trying to create outcomes that are equal, it's going to come, or social justice, and what it's become, it's going to become violent.
Can we define that term? So Tom Ronam in the chat said social justice is such a broad term. Can we define it a bit?
Well, define it according to who? Because according to did we already have that? That's interesting.
Oh, Jimmy, show
It's
this.
right there.
Yeah,
Show
it's,
this meme.
It's an interesting.
I hate this meme so much.
Yeah. Tell me your response to it.
This meme is so fucking stupid, right? Because it implies that, like, oh yeah, sure, if somebody can't see, we should give them 2 boxes in a way, right? But the reality of this meme, as it plays out in life, isn't that like you give somebody a box? It's that like you chop off the bottom half of the guy on the left's legs, and then you stitch them to the guy on the right, and then like they can see. You know, it's not that simple. You don't. It's not like there's like this infinite amount of resources laying around, and you just redistribute them, and everything's fine.
Well, and he specifically mentions that. He says they take it as fact that there's a pie. It is constant. It is given, and then we just need to chop it up differently. But in fact, there's a baker who made that pie that made it possible for this to be divided up in the first place.
And you can't even just divide it. You have to create some sort of government bureaucracy to oversee the dividing of the pie, and then that government bureaucracy is incentivized to never actually divide the pie properly, because once they divide the pie properly, they have no reason to exist anymore, and they have an incentive like any organism to grow and to continue to grow, right? So like in the Crystal video, like she opens by saying like, oh, this like speech by Javier, it's like a 15-year-old who read like Atlas Shrugged for the first time. And it's like kind of like a funny dunk, and there's like some truth to that. But like I feel the same way about people like her. They like look at the world like, oh, like this is like that, like kind of like Thomas Sowell says this. Like when people say things, you should ask them like a few questions, like at what cost, like what are the alternatives, and like what is your evidence? Like these things are important. Like yeah, sure. Like if I could just snap my fingers and just give everybody like public education and healthcare that was like effective. Yeah, of course I would do that. Like, of course everybody wants that. But you can't just do that. There's like finite resources in society. And if you create like this third party to oversee the distribution of those resources and divide them up, you get corruption, you get stuff in the middle, you make the creation of that finite amount of resources like less efficient from the public sector to from the private markets to begin with. Like it's not
like
that simple.
Chapter 2 of Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell, I think, is where he just evidence, fact, and he just like provides historical examples of exactly what you're talking about. If anyone's interested,
Grinds my gears.
Okay.
Grind.
I'm happy to keep going on this because I have how the state controls for 500. Argentina should be rich for 600.
I want to revisit that
on
image at
feminism
some
and
point.
climate change policies for
image?
700.
It's a good image.
Let's go to the 700. Let's go
You
to
want
the
to go to
700.
do
on
one more.
feminism and climate change
Do
policies?
one more. All right.
Yeah.
Let's just nuke it.
Okay.
Let's just nuke
fuck.
it all to hell.
You guys are adventurous. All right. All that the radical feminism agenda has led to is greater intervention to hinder economic progress. Giving jobs to bureaucrats who have not contributed anything to societies. Examples are ministries of women or international organizations devoted to promoting this agenda. Another conflict presented by socialists is that of humans against nature, claiming that we human beings damage a planet which should be protected at all costs, even going as far as advocating for population control mechanisms or the abortion agenda. Unfortunately, these harmful ideas have taken a stronghold in our society. Neo-Marxists have managed to co-opt the common sense of the Western world, and this they have achieved by appropriating the media, culture, universities, and also international organizations. The latter case is the most serious one, probably because these are institutions that have enormous influence on the political and economic decisions of their member states. So I did leave out a piece of context. When he starts off with the feminism part, he says that like part of libertarianism ideology is that we are all equal in the right to life, the right to prosperity, and the right to own property. So all these quotes are taken out of context, but pretty spicy take. He in front of this crew says your feminist agenda is causing market distortions. Your climate change agenda is creating market distortions, which net create social, negativity, evil, whatever, how you want to describe it.
it felt like those two were less egregious than the third, which was that like human existence was like a net negative.
Yeah, he's saying that like
That's part of the claim
That
of
was
the
part
climate
of the climate
people.
change
Yeah.
people. He was saying they will go as far as to advocate for abortion.
that's how
Okay.
extreme.
That's how extreme.
That's
it
something we've
becomes.
talked
That's
about.
obviously
for sure.
a really great anecdote that he pulled to argue against. But that was actually the part that I disagreed with that take. What was his exact statement about climate, though? It was like one sentence that really stood out. to me.
Let's see. He says that another conflict presented by socialists that is humans against nature, claiming that we human beings damage a planet which should be protected at all costs, even goes as far as say advocating for population control
Well,
mechanisms.
that's the thing. To what? Like, how long are we going to ignore? Like, to what degree should the planet just suffer? Like, that's a real question, and it goes back to this like free market issue. Like,
yeah.
I know that this climate change thing is like super spicy, and no one knows what's going on anymore, and all the climate change science is like up for debate now, and all that. I don't know. You don't know. None of us are experts. But at the end of the day, I know how it feels. I know that my planet should be like taken care of. It's my home.
Wait, you're
Why
missing,
should I
you're
treat it
missing
like
his
shit?
point though. His point is that there are people who are basically like humans should be secondary. So like there
No,
are people
no.
who
I'm not-
advocate for not
I couldn't agree
reproducing
more with his
because
point.
of
No,
And he's
I
saying
couldn't
the-
agree more with his
The
point.
danger is
That's
that
like the
those
crux of, like,
people
his
are the
thing, I
ones who
think.
are co-opting the media, the culture, the
The
universities.
fact that it goes so far as to make such a point is absurd. Obviously, it should never come at the cost of people and the species. But at the end of the day, there's a line. And the line should be drawn. I don't know where it should be drawn. The feminist thing, I don't know how those two things are even in the same breath, in the same conversation.
market
Right.
distortions.
I
I mean,
yeah.
he's sort.
I mean, I
like he's
guess.
right about the feminism thing. Like when taken to an extreme, it does cause market distortions. That's not like a thing that's popular to say, right? But if you come to corporate America or wherever you go, and you're like, "Hey, 50% of your people are not women," it should be 50%. Why shouldn't it be? Other than that, you are all systematically sexist, right?
childbirth.
I don't
Like,
know.
if there are
I
other
don't
reasons
like
why
this.
that discrepancy
There's a lot.
exists.
There's a very complicated topic. Women are in the both fortunate and unfortunate
Wait, no.
position.
I don't want to go there. Do you agree
You
or
wanna stick
disagree
to
with
the
the
economic like?
Do you agree with do you agree that there are market distortions? Like we can talk about whether or not there's like a moral, like why it's justified, but like do you agree that it causes like distortions in the market? Like take a step back, dispassionately look at what
I don't
he's
know.
saying.
I don't
by
understand
definition,
it well
is,
enough.
because you're forcing an outcome that is not happening freely
which
and
I
voluntarily.
agree with. Like I know that doesn't
Yeah.
sound nice to say, but like it's sort of factually.
So
I
what
might-
the thesis is like? It's more. Go ahead.
I guess I might like agree with you. There's a market distortion, but I think it's a market distortion that I'm like willing to accept. Like I think it's fine. It's fine to have women in the workplace, and that's good.
Well, that's not the.
No, but
that's not, yeah.
No,
but
it's
that's
that-
the thing people tell you to get you to agree with it, right? Because who could argue with that? Like, oh, you don't want women in the workplace? That's not like the reality of
What
the
are you
stuff.
What are you saying that it should be? That you're arguing it's
No,
the
these
50,
programs
50.
are basically like you need to be. You're not. Why are you not 50-50? Why isn't
Well,
like
yeah.
half your board this?
Well, I
Why
hate that.
isn't,
I mean,
you know?
I see this in many different professions where it's like you want to coach football. Well, you should be black because most people are black. It's like, well, you could still be a good white football coach or
Right.
something. You know, like
It's just a question of meritocracy and like the degree
I mean,
to which that should
should
be protected.
I think, yeah.
That's the question. To what degree should that be protected? The question of like, equity for women just comes because, I know you don't want to go there, but it comes because their careers suffer because they have to take on child labor and upbringing of children and the actual pregnancy part. So then their careers take a toll and then they have to try to find their way back into the workplace and they can't because their resume suffered. So then the question becomes, okay, if their resume suffered and they can't get the job, do we force the outcome? And then you sort of have to, because if you don't force the outcome, then they never get back in the workplace to the degree that which
it's
they
about
were.
it's about like resetting almost.
So
It's
this
like-
is one of those really interesting areas where you ask yourself if the violence is worthwhile, if the forcing is necessary to create the outcome.
You're distorting-
Does it distort the market? Absolutely.
Look, the problem I have is that you're sort of taking this population-wide thing, being like, okay, in general, women are doing this, and they're sort of in general getting... But in reality,
a guy doesn't get a job in favor of a woman, the guy didn't do anything wrong, and the woman often is not actually she may have never even had a child. She may actually be part of the cohort of women who didn't exit, but because society is adjusting for that, you just took two people who have nothing to do with those decisions.
What
that
if
people
you were
make,
to
and
do
you
it
were-
correctly and perfectly?
But this is the problem. Everybody's like, well, what if we just made it better? And you know what you have to do? You have to put more people in the middle in a bureaucracy
which is his biggest
to read
beef,
the
is
data.
that
and
there's
do
a
the
person
thing.
in the middle deciding, well, we have to fit this
You have
allocation.
ergo distorted the market.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have
sure.
maybe 15 minutes left, so I want to end with this call to action. If you don't mind, then we can probably
Yeah,
wrap
let's
up
do that.
there.
Yeah, let's do it.
So he says, therefore, in conclusion, I would like to leave a message for all business people here and those who are not in person but are following from around the world. Do not be intimidated by the political class or by parasites who live off the state. Do not surrender to a political class that only wants to stay in power and retain its privileges. You are social benefactors. You are heroes. You are the creators in the most extraordinary period of prosperity we have ever seen. Let no one tell you that your ambition is immoral. If you make money, it's because you offer a better product at a better price, thereby contributing to general well-being. Do not surrender to the advance of the state. The state is not the solution. The state is the problem itself. You are the true protagonist of the story, and rest assured that as from today, Argentina is your staunch and unconditional ally. Thank you very much, and long live freedom.
I'm
Damn
sorry.
it.
I want to
but
cry.
That is so beautiful.
I want to cry, dude. It's unbelievable.
That's so
Guys,
beautiful.
I think I know who John Galt is.
I don't know. I'm a hardcore capitalist.
Okay, so
Can't deny it.
the big question is without going into is it, if we had a society that followed this mode, does everything work out okay for the better? Do we see another century of amazing economic growth per capita, even if population doubles?
Let's
Does
look at
this
the evidence.
method?
What evidence do we have?
I mean, the evidence shows
You look at the United States.
I mean,
yes.
It's
I
the
think
best evidence we have.
I think if you play that out, it does. You get economic growth, but then you still end in the same place where we still end.
But it's
in
icky, Eric,
in our future.
because
Our future still ends in
What?
UBI.
You still end,
It still ends there.
But
And
it's kind of icky because at the same time in that world there's 100 amazingly rich people, and if you measure the difference between those 100 people and the bottom 100 million, it's a pretty wide stack. But then is it okay because the bottom 100 million just doubled their economic power and their ability to live
Is this even
healthily?
a choice? Isn't the choice something of the everybody's not everybody, but a lot of proponents of these ideologies are we need the world to be this way. Ergo, we need to pass laws and then at the point of a gun, force people to do this. Coming from the world of crypto, we have an idea of social consensus. People just agree on things collectively, and then that is the way that we go. I don't think that's the way to do everything in society. I'm not delusional, but I think there are tons of things in society that we could actually just try to come to some sort of social consensus over, rather than 51% of people grab the gun in a wrestling match on the floor and they're just pointed at the other 49. It's just I don't see how that ever works out. You're just in a never-ending death match, right? If you don't actually convince the other people that this is the way to do it.
So, if you guys aren't familiar with Atlas Shrugged, they're kind of two main characters. There's Henry Reardon and Dagny Taggart. So, Henry Reardon is developing this steel that is the most stable compound of steel. It's also lightweight. It provides transportation that no one has ever seen before. And throughout the story, it's nothing but government regulations saying, dude, you're getting too rich. We need to divide up these contracts. And Dagny Taggart, at the same time, she's running a railroad who relies on his steel. She would like to buy his steel to build her railroads because it's safer, it's more reliable, and there's just this constant regulation. So if we live in a world where we do ticker tape parades for Henry Reardon and Dagny Taggart, we're probably not. It's not going to sit well that they're
Getting richer.
the first 10 trillionaires,
Right.
But is that a good way for society? I do tend to think that. I think there are probably extremes in edge cases where you could, clearly show where maybe it doesn't work for all. But I think we're at a point where, for all the technology that we talk about that we like, it started with a group of people who had an idea and built it. Like, I think it's been a year and a half since we had large language models show up in our marketplace. And I think everyone would be like, whoa, this could change my life. Like, this could make me more efficient, more productive. And I want to live in a world
My
like that
emails
where
are
that's
so much
kind
better.
of disruption. And it's the most like tangible one I can think of in the last like year and a half. And I don't know. And I want someone to disrupt them. Like, I don't want regulation to like hinder new entrants from coming in. I want someone to be like, you know what?
That's
I found a
terrible.
better way.
It's terrible. You never, ever, ever want to hinder innovation. So whatever's necessary for that. Like, it's honestly, to me, it's that simple. It's just like, come on. Like, do you really want to hinder human beings and their creativity and their ingenuity and their ability to come up with better, faster, stronger, cheaper things? Obviously not.
Unless you
Obviously
think
not.
it has the potential to kill a lot of people. Which is what people use most
But a lot
often
of things
to
have the
regulate
potential
stuff.
to kill a lot of people, and a lot of things contain a double-edged sword innately from the moment that they're born.
I don't
Most
disagree with you.
technologies do. That's just part of, and that's why I don't think the answer has ever been full libertarian free market or full hardcore regulatory, approach, centralized government, power strengthened from the middle. Like, I don't think it's either one.
Yeah.
It's always the messy gray. It's always somewhere in the middle. That's why no one's happy ever, because the answer is actually like, you probably aren't going to be very happy, and you probably aren't going to be very happy. But the answer is that we're both going to get a little bit of what we want.
Do you think your brother wants 4 more people to get crushed by trains just so he can have a good night's sleep?
I'll
Like,
tell you one thing. Like,
First of all, why did those people get
people
crushed
aren't
by
blowing
Unknown.
train horns because of the free market.
That's true. That's true.
But
Poor
yeah,
brother Cesaro. You going to
I
give him a
know.
place to sleep?
poor
Or?
guy. You can put an air mattress in my
Yeah?
office. That's
Okay.
fine. I don't.
All
you know.
right. Mike,
I had
a.
I had a good retort to you, but I forgot it because
Oh.
my memory is like.
But then you got to get out at 4 a.m. because there's lines to draw.
Me? Yeah.
Yeah,
You just have to get out.
brother, get
What do
out.
we do about the airplanes? There's airplanes and trains.
I don't
This
even
is,
notice
This is
the
literally
airplanes
like
anymore.
a John Candy movie, dude.
I'll be
Like,
honest.
what?
So when I lived in San Francisco, I lived right on that old school trolley line.
Cable car. Yeah, I lived
The cable
down the
car?
street from you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that cable car line would be like ding 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 all night, and guess what? You just get used to it and you move on. Like,
Look
There's a
at
big
that.
difference
The
between
Eric
ding, ding,
Johansson
ding,
approach
ding,
to
and
life.
just
Look at that.
laying on a freight train horn. Like, it is remarkable how loud that stuff is. It's wild.
If you're Eric Johansson, dude,
move
come
on.
Some
move
of
on.
us can get used to anything.
Move
I got
on.
a question. Well, for you guys, but it's really meant for the people still hanging in the live chat right now.
We have a lot of them.
So there are a lot of them actually.
I love that.
Are you guys going to eat Denver? Who's in?
All right.
I'm going in.
I'm
my
in,
mind.
baby.
I
I'm in
haven't
if you
purchased
get a room
anything,
for me
but-
at the where do you stay in Vegas? The
The Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan. Do they have a Cosmo?
Mm,
Do they
negative
have a
Ghost Rider.
casino?
They don't have a.
Damn it!
Blackhawk is like an
There's no
hour
Cosmo.
outside
I
of
just have
Denver.
Alfalfa Craps meetup. So
Nick's
good.
gonna be in China, so
Yeah,
we
I
gotta
won't-
hold
I
it
won't be
down.
there.
Oh no!
Wait, you're not even coming?
No, I can't. I'm gonna leave for China.
All right, I will.
Dude, that means this isn't happening.
Well,
I
that's
will
what that's
shoulder-
kind of like. Yeah,
You're like the only responsible
this is
person.
my
in this
passive
whole-
aggressive version of like.
Oh,
so if you
he's,
guys
like,
are gonna
making
plan
sure
something,
that
you guys
we're
All
are
right,
going.
fine. I'll organize a pickleball tournament.
Oh my god!
We're gonna be like, wait, what?
Wait, so Steven doesn't care about the like you gave him. He found an incentive.
Yeah.
He found an incentive. It's
Okay,
the
to
pickleball
be fair,
tournament.
if there's like an indoor pickleball place that also serves booze, it'd be like
Let's
the
just do
best
the event
event
there.
That would be incredible.
I'm
It'd
just
be
saying.
unbelievable. It'd be so much fun.
The
Yeah.
squad has donated some money, and they expect that to be spent on this event.
Yeah, and like last March we
I
went
just,
there.
I just need a nudge.
You
Somebody
did say
nudge me.
indoor, but like last March when we went there, it was like fucking blizzard status.
Well, yeah, we're
it
indoor.
was. It was
Indoor.
hardcore.
It was cold.
Yeah.
That's why we live out here. I hate that shit.
So
Okay,
basically, that was to say, get your shit together.
Eric.
We'll have our shit together. We're gonna do a big meetup. It's gonna be awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd like to ask everyone out there to let us know if you'll be coming. So the event is Denver.
Yeah, I think
we
it's
have
like
the dates off the
the
top of your head?
beginning, the first few days of March.
I said this last year. I'll say it again. I met my co-founder Ian by making this
At that event.
announcement.
Yeah.
By saying this, he specifically told me, he's like, Armand, I am not in the Discord, but you made a specific announcement. You said, hey, listen, everybody out there. Like, even if you're not engaging with the community, this is your opportunity to come to an event, hang out, meet like-minded people. It's okay if you haven't been engaging. This is your opportunity. So I invite you again in the year 2024 to come to Denver, to the Ethereum Denver conference, meet the Alfalfa community, meet us, hang out. Let's set up a little pickleball tournament headed by the pickleball pro, Steven Cesaro.
Now, people want to get in a
some
bar and
beers
drink.
if you want.
No, we're gonna have
And,
we're gonna have an
both.
open bar for everybody. We're
Yeah.
gonna figure out a situation.
If there could be like,
Figure out
if there was like an indoor chicken and pickle, that would be my
Chickle
ideal.
and pickle. So the
Chickle
main
and-
thing
chicken
is,
and
I know
pickle.
people are going to ask this and are wondering this as well. Do you need a ticket to ETH Denver? No, you don't. It's a nice to have because then you could also attend the event and like get some exposure to what's going on in crypto. But there's so many side events, including ours and Bankless's and everyone else's, that you don't need.
Even
a
if you're
ticket to
crypto
the
curious, not even like a.
Yeah, and I think last year I remember I went 2 days to the event, and that was like 1 day too many. I think you guys probably went to one day.
I didn't even go in.
Are you guys also going to record a podcast live at ETH Denver like
Wait,
we
we
did
have to
last
figure
year?
all this out without you?
So,
Let's not do it. Let's just do it like in our hotel or something.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, we'll just do it live.
You want to do,
Do
it live?
it live.
Whatever we did last time was a disaster.
God, they're
we were
actually worse.
fucking hungover.
Well, they're worse at setup than we are.
That was we're like,
yeah.
yeah, we got lunch to do a pod, and then they're like, oh, I forgot to hit the record button.
They had this like studio, but maybe they'll be better this year as a result of that.
No, they're
No,
dead to me.
We got it.
All
All right. Well, anyway, stay tuned. Hop in the Discord if you want, or we'll keep shouting it out on the pod as weeks to come.
I
But
like
yeah,
that episode.
definitely some of the best experiences the four of us have personally had is meeting everyone in person.
Oh, yeah.
And whether you're shy or
Completely
you know
different.
love these type of situations, it's the crew you want to hang out with. So.
Last year's was so fun.
Oh
was.
yeah, last year was amazing.
Okay. Well, everyone, that was fun. Thanks for joining today. Thanks for going all around the business talk and the Javier Milei talk. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you guys went along with it for
Glad
a
you
little
enjoyed
bit.
yourself, Nick.
Yeah, I at least enjoyed myself.
I've never seen you laugh that hard.
We love you all. All the links
It
are
was
at
cathartic.
alfalfapod.com. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Later, everybody.
Peace. Bye.